Hi friends, this is Chris with Josephine's Designs. I am back with some of my favorite books that I wanted to share with you guys. I am in a process of trying to figure out what is the best thing for me to do for my health. And there are a slew of books that I have used like reference books, but I think it is time for me to get serious in a whole different way. Everybody's got their 2 cents. Have you noticed that? And I'm tending to lean more to the Trim Healthy Mama kind of way of thinking, which is kind of low carb, no sugar, the whole thing. So that's a hard thing because I have a husband who's heavily addicted to sugar. So we'll see. But I also wanted to share with you that scripture is a part of this. That go into the Bible. I couldn't share this without bringing this because I am working really hard. I have read this book, studied this book years ago with a gal who was an incredibly godly Titus 2 Bible teacher who taught this book to our children in a homeschool class situation, and I was her helper. And I still remember the things she taught me. And so this is by Rex Russell, MD, and it talks about what the Bible says about healthy living. And I think there are so many things that we need to focus on when we're talking about food and how we process that food, how we eat that food, how we do all those things. Now, I am not an expert in any stretch of the imagination. Years ago, I saw a doctor and a nutritionist, and when the nutritionist and I were talking, she looked at me and she said, you actually know more than I do about some of the things that we're talking about. And I said, I doubt that, but you're being very kind. And I said, my problem is clearly I love food too much, and I love, at that time I probably was eating way, way, way too much, and I had to find a way to cut down. And she said, but you're eating really healthy food. And I said, well, I hope so. I probably eat some bad stuff in there too, but clearly I'm just eating too much. And, so we had that conversation, and I thought, that's interesting that she would say that. That's very interesting what she'd say that. So, as many of you know, we have a garden here on this property. We have many gardens on this property. At one point, we wanted to put up a greenhouse. I'm not sure that we're there yet. Maybe this fall. My husband built what he calls, it's a deck, and that's our prayer garden area. I'd like it to be out there. We've talked about it out there. We've left space for it out there, but we'll see. We'll see. My husband's garden out there is running crazy like mine, so we'll see what's going to happen. He's got what we call his raised bed bucket garden out there. I have a raised bed bucket garden right outside our front door. And then we took half of that. It was a huge garden that had been planted previously. It was overgrown. We tended to have rattlesnakes in there. So we took everything out but a line of hedges that matches up with the front of the house. And that's kind of a walkway back there between the house and the hedges. And which I don't walk back there much, but my husband does. We've had a lot of snakes out there, so I don't like that. But then we also put in a seating area, and we also have some big, huge pots in there that are more decorative. There are some things that are edible, but mostly decorative. And so I like pretty flowers, but I also like pretty vegetables and fruit. So we have together, I forgot how many, we must have like 12, anywhere from 12 to, I think at one point we counted 15 beds, and we have more space to go of raised beds, 15 different beds, and they go up the driveway. Most all of them are 6-foot round beds, and they are full. We even planted them lighter this year, but we had a lot of volunteers pop up. And with the food crisis the way it is, unless it was crowding out the garden, we kept it. And I mean, we've had volunteers pop up in the weirdest spots. So we literally have tomatoes crawl in the ground because we just couldn't keep up. We just couldn't keep up. They were just everywhere. And but that's okay. I kind of let it happen. Number one, I was so sick, as you guys know. But number two, I wanted to see what's going to happen as a result. So the volunteers have come so much later that we haven't seen any fruit yet on a lot of them, but we're waiting it out. And here in Texas, it gets so hot, but we got in the hundreds in June, which we very rarely do. Um, my husband put in water lines, which has helped immensely, which is probably why we've had so much growth. And then we've had tons and 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 tons of basil. So I literally, and tons of Swiss chard. So if you look at my Instagram, I literally have a bouquet of gorgeous, what I call red Swiss chard. It's such gorgeous. Today, yesterday I put it in. I'm fermenting the stalks in one ferment, and I'm fermenting the leaves with other vegetables in another, and all chopped up. And I'm really excited. I couldn't wait today. So I took a little taste of something that you don't want floaties. So I took a taste of a floaty, and I was like, oh, dang, that's already good. So anyways, it's hot. It's hot. So but I do think as when I was sick, things happened this, May and June, and then again last week. And when I went out, I've tried to like walk out some, though I'm totally exhausted. I have discovered that things have been happening, so I need to really stay on top of it. I need to be watching it. I need to be making sure that everything's okay, and making sure things are getting watered. And my husband can only do so much. Our daughter's sick, so we're doing the best we can. He also didn't water line a few of the beds along the driveway, which I don't know why. And so, bless his heart, he's out there watering them all the time. And I just keep telling him, just add on the tubing for that, And I make it sound easier than it is. But I think it would be all of 30 minutes he'd have it done. He's very smart. So, anyways, he just has so much work. Anyways, and he's been working on his boat, and he's been working on the vehicles, and he's been working on just tons of projects on the property, plus trying to keep up mowing and all that, and watering and all that. So it brings me back to this book, A Year Without the Grocery Store. I have it on audio. I have it on in book form. It has been barely opened. I resourced it the first, 2020, and I just have not used it. And I thought, shame on you. Shame on you. I'm also getting ready. When my dehydrator went out, I was sharing in another video. I started studying more about freeze drying and all of this, and pretty soon it's just gonna be my husband and I. I offered my daughter and son-in-law if they wanted to go and have someone, and they were just like, no, we live too far apart, and they're gonna get their own. And I just, that's fine. I totally understand. Our son and daughter-in-law, I don't know that they're really into freeze-dried food. At some point, I'll talk to them about it, but I doubt it. They don't dehydrate. They don't, they don't do any of that. But my son did a good job of putting food up. Now, in my opinion, their pantry's empty, but in their opinion, it's full. And that's all that matters. He makes sure they have, they live on protein powders. I don't know if they bring leftovers for lunch, and then they have some storage of things, beans and things like that. So they eat a very different type of way than we do. Like when we have chickens and lots of eggs, it's too hot for the chickens to lay. They'll take eggs all day long. We also, and so many of you are wondering, what do I do now? My chickens aren't laying. Go to Sam's. They have free range organic eggs. They are very reasonably priced. They are better priced than our local grocery store or Walmart. I just got it was either 18 or 24 pack or organic, cage-free, free-range chicken eggs. Can't beat it. Just can't beat it. So, but as I looked at this, I also recognized that everything I was relearning again, because, that first year was this massive learning curve. We had to just deep dive, throw everything in the ground, do the best we could. I was recovering from being sick, very, very, very ill with the dreaded. And not only that, it relapsed. So I remember I was out there gardening, and one of my partners called and said, you need to rest now. And I was like, so I'm not just old and lazy. And he was like, no, you have acute symptoms. Go rest. So I'm reminding myself of that again now. But, recovering again. But anyways, I put up so much dehydrated food. It's only good for a year. It's only good for a year. So I have to clean out my pantry now. Chickens are going to have a heyday. It's still edible. There's just not as much nutritional value in it. This is what I need to understand. I need to understand the longevity. I need to understand what best keeps. I need to understand, like, I bought all these beans. Now I'm understanding, oh no, they'll get too hard. You can't eat them. Well, I'm going to be real honest. I've watched tons of videos where people have, cooked beans from 2011 here recently, and they were fine. 11-year-old beans. Now, it took a process to get them softened, but they could eat them. And I've watched multiple videos on that. So, A Year Without the Grocery Store is definitely a book I want to read. I continue to read this book. I know people read it like cover to cover. I clearly don't. I tend to tab it, use it as a resource book. I am challenging myself to read this from cover to cover. By the end of 2022, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, I am challenging myself to read this book from cover to cover. That one too, right? Okay. We should always be reading the Bible cover to cover. This is just growing great veggies here in Texas. This really is a reference book. Well, here's some of my sermon stuff in here. But these are just so invaluable. They are so invaluable. I need to read this stuff and reread it and read this stuff and reread it. I'm going to save this for last. Seed to Seed is a great tool. It's talking about seed saving. I have been saving some seeds. My husband looked at me today and goes, we have more seeds in this house than we've ever had. And I said, yes, we do. And he said, well, why you keep buying seeds? And I said, because I don't always use a whole package. I may only use 3 seeds, like with my Armenian cucumbers. And he said, oh. And some years, some things work, like our okra grows every year. This year, I'm not getting my okra to grow every year, all of the ones I planted. I've never had that happen. So, and my husband said, well, get back out there and plant something else. And I said, probably radishes. And he said, oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, we could do that. My husband loves radishes. I only like baked radishes. They're really hard on my tummy, raw. But Seed to Seed is an excellent book. It's by Suzanne Ashworth on seed saving, growing techniques for vegetable gardeners. Now, I can't wait to get further down in this Armenian cucumber, because the first thing I said was, how do I save the seeds? I know, when you get that in your brain, it's hard to take it out. My husband brought me in a couple of blackberries, and I was, chewing them, and I said, you think those seeds in there that are in the fruit, you think that's the seed we save? And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay. So here I was saving seeds. I mean, it was so silly. They're still on a paper towel in my kitchen. So, The Complete Guide to Vegetable, Fruits, and Herbs. Again, these things are just invaluable. How to store it, how to use it, where's the best place for it to grow, what's the best time of the year, what's the everything. Now, this is by Ortho. I prefer the Texas books first. And I will tell you why, because what grows in New England may not grow well in Texas or at a different time of the year. So you have to know your zone, and you have to know how to best utilize that information. Now, this is a book that I've bought twice, so I'm going to give one as a Christmas present this year. The Backyard Homestead. This is an excellent resource book. Guys, we not only have all these gardens, we also have grape vineyard area, berry patches. I mean, with blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, everything you can imagine, dewberries. Our problem this year is the birds picked them blind. Just nothing left, nothing. So that happened to us last year, and I had told my husband this year we need to get netting on it, but I was sick and I didn't follow up. And, so I want to read this book again, and make sure that I have listed on a calendar what I'm doing, and just put reminders on a calendar. I already received yesterday a 2023 calendar, and my husband looked at it and goes, what did you buy all that 2023 stuff? And I said, I didn't buy it, I was sent it. And he said, oh. And I said, yeah. I said, next year we're going to use freebies or whatever I have in my stash that I can repurpose. And he was like, hey, I like that. And I said, yeah, I get all this stuff free. I used to give it away. Everybody gets this stuff free. So, I'm going to use what I have. And he's like, all right. So as the first time gardener, this is Jessica Soward's, and it is from Roots and Refuge. She's the gal here on YouTube, Roots and Refuge. If you don't know Jess, you need to get on there. You need to see what they're doing. They are prolific growers. They've moved from Arkansas to South Carolina and bought their forever homestead, a big, huge parcel of land. They're running, I know they're running dairy cows. I don't know if they're running cattle. Just kind of blanked out on that one. I'm thinking of another gal on YouTube. He's running horses, raising horses, something he's always wanted to do. She's the gardener. She is a massive gardener. They've because I think they are going to have meat cattle because they got rid of all their goats. She rehomed them, and so she's had goats all those years because they're smaller. It was a smaller environment. So they're also in the process of having a general mercantile and classes, and I just wish they weren't in South Carolina, but I'm super excited. They may even offer some of these things. They're going to have a coffee shop. They may offer some things online on video, which I'm elated. So I bought this book when it first came out, and I've barely cracked it. How foolish is that? What a waste of resources. That's in my stack. Now, I also wanted to share the Homesteader's Herbal Companion. I've got another herb book that I can't find right now. I may have loaned it out. I've raised tons of herbs through the years. Matter of fact, gardening to me was all about the herbs. I made soap. I made infusions. I made cleaning products with herbs. To me, herbs were everything. We even debated when we got rid of all of our goats, at one point, we debated making a lavender field, but we knew that we were too wet here, and it would require something that now I would know exactly how to do it. Exactly, but we've already put gardens out there. So I may do some specialty planting, but we'll see. But nothing on a mass scale. We were looking at it as a business, and we decided no. I had gone in the Hill Country, Texas, where we came from, Wimberley. I had gone to lots of herb farms and taken classes, as well as deeper in the Hill Country, Fredericksburg, for years and years and years. And so herbs to me were everything. They were medicinal. They were beautiful. They were edible. They were, there were endless uses. And so, but I do enjoy this one. I would be remiss if I didn't have anything herbs for you guys. And a lot of those growing vegetables, they'll have things about herbs in there too. This is Amy K. Fuel, and I really love, matter of fact, I have zinnias growing in my regular gardens. I usually have nasturtiums. This year the nasturtiums would not grow at all anywhere, and I never have not had nasturtiums grow. My purslane has gone crazy, which is great. That's a great source of omega-3s or the omegas. And it is a vegetarian source of omegas. So, and it's a weed. And so it has popped up everywhere. It has popped up in my sitting area and the gravel area of it. And my sweet husband hasn't even taken it down. So he's complained about it on the walkway. So I'm not going to plant any more pots in the walkway. But I planted a bucket of it, and it is insane how much it has grown. It's like a succulent, and it's fantastic. It's kind of citrusy. You eat the leaves, and I put it in salads. And you can just literally walk through, put some in your mouth, and eat it. It's so good. Now, the other thing I want to do, I don't know if I'll ever get there, but part of my goal yesterday and today, I had picked up an order from Sam's, because our garden isn't growing everything, not everything made, so we're backfilling. If I can get organic. I also noticed there's a new veggie fruit stand on the way into San Marcos. There's also, we have a farmer's market on Saturdays. here. My husband sleeps in on Saturday, so I hate to wake him up. Because if I go, he's going to be woken up. I mean, if I move, I don't move at all because I wake up early. So I read or pray or, I find, and then eventually I'll turn on YouTube or something. And a lot of times I put on scripture on YouTube and I'll listen to that. But I want to have not a Pinterest worthy fridge. I want to have an organized fridge so that nothing goes bad, that I can see everything, utilize everything. We have 3 fridges in our kitchen. 3. Full size. And our cheapest fridge is our best fridge. Our most expensive fridge is our worst fridge. So I've lost a lot of stuff through that fridge. I'm learning to make it kind of a water fridge. But as hot as it is, you don't always want just, lukewarm water. You want it. So I'd hoped this week, but we're now going to take care of the grandbabies that we hadn't planned on. I'd hoped this week I would be emptying out that fridge, but in the freezer, and then defrosting it all, and then letting it, kind of start fresh. But we'll see. I still have to clean out my shelves. So there's a long kind of pebble in the pond list, but it's good. It's all good. So this is the goal. This is the gorgeous book with all the recipes. All right. Last but not least, I received this free. I think my husband's coming in. And it's our daily bread prayer journal for hope-filled quiet times. And I thought I would take that as my journal to write in. Okay, guys, if you got any questions, leave them below. I pray your day is blessed, creative, and lovely. Leave a comment and give me any lessons you've learned. We'd love to hear from you. All right, guys, I'll be talking to you soon. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll talk to you later. Bye, y'all.